Hey, quickly before we get into the video, I quickly wanted to share some news about the Signal/Premium group we have. Because over the last couple of weeks, going into the summer, but also the rest of the year, we have started drawing up some plans for spot accumulation of coins like Bitcoin, XRP, but also Solana. So for example, how we started was buying Bitcoin. We actually had limits right here from 100,000 into 98,000. Went in big, are making a lot of profit right now. So if you're interested in spot accumulation plans like that, outside of future signals, consider joining. But that's it for now. Just wanted to let you know about that. And now let's get into the video. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Cilinix Crypto. Hope you're all doing great. And welcome to this new video right here on the crypto markets. We're going to do a full middle of the day market update. I did not make one over the course of the weekend. There, first of all, there were some altcoins that actually moved relatively well, made some big moves. So Wormhole, for example, but overall there wasn't much to talk about, and I was actually not behind the screen for quite some time. But fully back behind the screen again today, so just wanted to do a full update right here to make sure you're fully updated on the entire crypto markets. So we'll speak about some news and fundamentals. We'll speak about Bitcoin. We'll talk about Ethereum. XRP I will skip in this video because it's relatively quiet, and I've basically made two videos saying the same thing in the last 2 days. But then we will talk about some other altcoins that I think are interesting. And that you need to have on your radar. So that's what we're going to do. So let's get right into it. Now, first of all, talking about some fundamentals, the stock market has opened relatively well. It's trading at all-time highs. A bit of a decrease right here in price after open, because there's a little bit of added volatility, a little bit of added unrest, because Scott Bessent, I think he's the head of Treasury in the United States, is talking a little bit about tariffs right now and potentially extending the tariff deadlines or not extending the tariff deadlines, or potentially reinstating the April the 2nd tariffs, which, if I have to remind you what that did to price, I'll show you the price right here. This is what those Liberation Day tariffs did. So yeah, there's a little bit of unrest, and that's also why Bitcoin spiked down. But ultimately, is it really doing that much? No. However, tariffs and trade deal talk is the most important thing that you need to keep an eye on. Obviously, we're nearing the deadlines right here at the beginning of July, and that is going to matter, right? So that is one of the main things that I think would also push prices much lower if we get some bearish news regarding that. But at this point of time, tension is a little bit higher, but does it really matter for the prices yet? No. And when we take a look at Bitcoin right here, I wanted to look at this chart here. What you can see is that we failed to break out twice yesterday. All right, so that's not great, right? The main level that we needed to break above was 108,000. That's the main value area high that we need to break above in order to see 109 and 110,000. Breaking above that, I think it's going to be hard either way, even if we break above 108,000. But still, but we had a failed auction here twice. That's not great news. We failed to get a strong reaction here at single prints. That's also bad news. However, I must say that at this point of time, Bitcoin is still stable, right? And for that, if we take a look at this price right here, and I said this for the majority of last week as well, like the main area that we should be looking at for Bitcoin is between 108,000, and we're looking for a breakout between 108,000 and 106.5. As long as those levels hold, I would say it's most likely for Bitcoin to just remain relatively stable here until we get some major news, probably, that's going to make us break out. And that could be good news, then we'll break above 108,000. Could be bad news, and then we drop down below 106,500. And most of the market is going to follow that. I mean, if you take a look at the market right now, you can see most is just very correlated to Bitcoin. So that is the main thing that you need to watch. And as long as we're holding those levels, it's most likely that Bitcoin is just going to remain stable. So I think stability right now for Bitcoin, which does include a move into 106.5 again, is most likely. And then it's very much, I mean, even though I don't necessarily like to do it, but it's keeping an eye on the news, also leaving some room for nuance, right? So if we get bad news, that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to get a bearish breakdown. Or if we get good news, that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to get a bullish breakout. But it's waiting for that. And what I said last week, as well, this morning I thought we had a chance to really break out because we saw some de-escalation between the United States and Canada. But that has reversed a bit, and I saw that Canada did something else, and now we have those other comments about tariffs and potential tariffs in the future. That I again think that it's best to assume that we're going to get a bit of a pullback right here, and then if we get good news and we break above 108,000, then great. But at least you were ready for a pullback. I think that's the best way to go about Bitcoin right here. Now, when we're talking about Ethereum is actually holding better. For Ethereum, I think it's actually better to assume that we're going to move up, because technically it's holding, and ETH BTC is actually holding as well. So for Ethereum, I have a little bit more of a bullish bias, even though under these fundamentals, would I buy Ethereum? No. So yes, I have a bullish bias, but how much is that worth? Not much. And like I said, XRP is fairly similar, and most altcoins are moving together with Bitcoin right now. I'm also keeping my eyes on the news, because I think Scott Bessent is actually giving some sort of a speech right now. So if anything comes in, I'll try to tell you. But what's most likely? Yeah. So we just yeah. So we just got the Federal Reserve Bostic. Saying that he expects one rate cut this year, which not sure how much that matters, but that's also slightly bearish. But alright, so when we're talking about some altcoins right here, it's a couple of altcoins that I think are interesting, and I'll try to keep it short, but some of them have some real potential and real momentum. First of all, Jito I think fundamentally has a lot of potential for if and when. So that's GTO, of course, for if and when we get that Solana ETF. On the if you take a look at the chart right here on the higher time frames, though, and this is not loading, my internet is amazing again. But if you take a look at the charts, you can see that it still has to break out. It's at resistance. So would I buy right now? No. But fundamentally and technically, if it breaks out, I think it has a lot of potential. Arbitrum had a huge amount of momentum. I think that's still going to rally up higher into that area right here at 42.44 cents. So that's ARB, Arbitrum. Hopefully most of you know that. And then a little bit more on the risky side, we have Skate, which had huge volume at least. Momentum, I'm not sure if you can call this momentum, but huge volume, so definitely one to keep your eyes on as well, especially with funding rates right now that are around -2%. But that's what I think you need to know for now. That's everything regarding news, Bitcoin, Ethereum, altcoins. If you do have any questions, anything, let me know down in the comments. But for now, thank you for watching, take care, and bye.